Hello. We are back. When last we left off, the Left Stars had defeated the corrupted Earth Elemental Ludum, leaving the prison-like structure with its protector, Adriath. He suffered a brief bout of agoraphobia upon seeing the sky for the first time, and after gifting Mouse a crystal cluster, he departed northwards to taking Ludum's remains back to the plane of Earth. You all notified Avendir that the mission was a success and told him of the fate of the Delver's Lodge, and were invited to join him on the road to Consonance so that he could get his brandy auction schedule approved. Preparing for the journey, Flint spent some time working on his breastplate, and the rest of the party went to go buy some supplies. From this, Aesopp had purchased a great deal of diamond-encrusted incense and used some of it, I believe half of what you've purchased, to cast legend lore through Calliope, his magic pen, to learn more about Neptus. And as he basked in the history he received, he noticed a vein of shadow energy running through the Neptus sapphire, indicating that some element of Ludum's corruption had happened to spread. But as the party traveled onwards, joining with Avendir in his wind-powered wagon, you guys are about a day and a half-ish into your journey. However, a strange weather event made you lose half a day. And so that's where we left off. I believe Big Clax had kept the cart down. An enlarged Clax had kept the cart down long enough for everybody to jump in and weigh it down. And as the sun began to set, you guys were discussing watches to take.
I'm pretty sure I'm exhausted since I did sleep the night, and I think I asked the group if I could just sleep the night. Or was that the previous night? I do not remember.
The previous night, you were exhausted despite not participating in the watches.
Okay, so I'm fine this night.
You have a point of exhaustion currently, but staying up for a watch would not... Staying up for a watch won't affect your ability to recover that.
Got it.
So you can take a watch if you'd like, I should say.
I'll take the first one.
Mouse, unless you want to, I'll take it with Aesopp.
Go for it. I'll take the middle watch, because I always have to watch the sunset. Sunrise? Sunrise.
Do either Mouse, Drada, or Flint want a watch with Avendir?
Sure.
This would avoid a watch with Avendir.
Flint will take watch with Mouse then.
Drada and Avendir.
Alrighty. Well, as the chaos of the strange upside down rainstorm seems to dissipate, and the completely dry ground seems no longer dangerous or in turmoil. All of you bed down except for Clax and Aesopp. If you could roll a perception check. Aesopp, you have disadvantage because you're exhausted.
No, that's...
Oh, my everything crashed. Amazing. I'm back. Okay. After a brief stint of whatever that was, I see the rolls, but please go ahead and discuss.
Even with disadvantage, I got 17.
Yes.
Even though it's pretty shocking. I am pretty much laying against a stump by the campfire that we have set up, and I have the Neptus gem or Neptus in front of me, kind of like in between my like legs, and I have my knees up using that as a stand, and I'm writing. Currently, it's kind of not really paying attention to Clax at the moment. I'm very observant.
If he's engrossed and stuff, I'm just gonna let him do his thing and just kind of make the lap around the outside.
Okay. You said you had a 17. I actually don't see that roll, but I trust that that's what you said you got.
Yeah, I rolled with disadvantage. I got a 13-20, and with that 13, it's a +4, so 17.
Great. The night is, as the sun sort of starts to set during this first 3 hours, you are lost in your thoughts, as explained, and perhaps that's why you're on high alert. Not sure what could go wrong next, but despite all that, you do manage to have a night of uninterrupted watch. And you may bed down and turn it over to Mouse and Flint.
You guys are up. Have a good watch.
Pack my stuff up and just kind of hold Neptus as I fall asleep.
All right. Technical difficulties. So you guys have rolled your perception check for the second watch, I believe. Please go ahead and discuss.
So I was thinking. No, it's fine. I've never owned a business before or like had a guild. That's not really a thing where I come from, but it seems like something we should take advantage of. What does a guild do?
I mean, it's like a business or something. I think it can be kind of anything we want. I believe there is a group in Consonance that can help us like form our guild. Maybe they can provide us more guidance on good opportunities or something. But like, I don't know, we could start like an adventurers guild and like recruit more people like us, or deliver the mail if we get your airship working. Or
Helpers. Like,
yeah,
we don't need a specialty. We'll do all the things that people need help with.
is that how things work where you're from? Like, people don't just have like a job; they just kind of do everything.
Have skills, and people tend to contribute in the ways that they're best suited for.
What did you do?
Very good question. I had a lot of like general duties, food gathering, tree chopping, patching things up. I never got very good at any one thing. I preferred to try everything and help in all the ways.
I have a really hard time imagining you chopping a tree down.
I have chopped many a tree down.
Fair. I mean,
But
we
only
could
like dead or infected ones that needed chopping down. You should be considerate of the environment. And
what about for like firewood though? What if you need more firewood than you can find like dead trees?
I mean, there are other sources of things to burn. But if
Fair
you
enough.
chop one tree down, you just plant 3 more.
So should we make a lumber guild, but like that plants trees too?
Maybe not.
Okay.
That seems awfully
Well-
specific.
All right. General purpose. We'll workshop it.
The general purpose left stars. That's all. We just pitch business ideas for the rest of the night.
I will have to come up with creative quest lines for plumbing and contract work. But the night is uneventful, and you are able to bed down without issue. Watch number 3, Avendir and Dorada. I have to find my man.
Ooh.
If you could roll a perception check, as all my stuff maybe crashes again. But we'll see.
Oh, that's interesting. My skills buttons, instead of popping down from the menu, now go up off of my screen entirely. That's fun. Well, we'll roll a d20 and we'll add my modifier the good old-fashioned way.
I guess we're just both having a tech experience today.
And that is... It's between... I think it's like between a 15 and a 20.
Yes, you have +8, so 17.
I sure do.
Well, is there anything you would like to discuss with Avendir?
Yeah, thinking back to, like the last time we talked and me trying to, wanting to go out and meet interesting people. I'm just wondering if there's anyone in Consonance who might come to mind or anyone I should be on the lookout for.
He sort of looks at you and then looks down at the group of people sleeping. And looks back at you and says, perhaps I'm on a slightly tighter timeline than I expected with the day's weather, but perhaps somebody I could introduce you to if we can make up some ground.
I mean, yeah, I'm not more than happy, because that will involve me getting up early in the morning. I'm happy to attempt pushing us forward quickly. Also, yeah, introductions would be cool. Also, if you don't have the time, a name would be great. No pressure. Do what you want to do.
He sort of considers and says, she can be a bit odd. I feel like it would be better to make an introduction myself. But if you are... I don't want to wake up early in the morning either, but I could use some assistance running a few errands throughout the city so that I can get my business done more quickly.
Rada very enthusiastically and very sarcastically gives a aye Captain head up to the forehead situation. It's sounds good. Yeah, I appreciate it a lot.
Go and roll a persuasion check, and then let me know what you rolled because my entire computer is dying.
Great. I mean, mine's not doing great either. I rolled a 12.
A 12. Okay. He sort of he looks at you and says, I don't mean to ask you to do something so menial, but if you could get something in the mail for me, that would be appreciated. And he's
Love mail.
he sort of
Love mail.
Yeah, he reaches into a bag that he has on his cart, and pulls out a sort of like it's like the size of like a container that you would put your glasses in, and but it seems to be a wooden box with a lock on it, and and then he hands you a sort of piece of paper that tells you who to post it to and whatnot as well. And he says, if you wouldn't mind taking care of this when we arrive, that would shave a few hours off my day.
From adventurer to errand boy, such is the life. Yeah, no, I got you. Okay, yeah, sure, cool.
He nods with a oh my god, so much technical issues. He nods with a sort of like a half smile, and then sort of says, well, her name is Chalice, and well, I expect, depending on your group's interest in joining the auction schedule, you'll probably come across her. She is one of the crew on my ship, so.
You said she was a bit odd. Would you say she's more of a glass half empty or a glass half full kind of gal? Because her name's Chalice. Okay. Andrada sits down.
He lets that go. And a long rest is completed. We might be just not relying on Foundry for this session unless I can magic up a solution. So,
well, why don't you, if you need to restart your computer?
Yeah, I might need to do that.
Take your time.
The lady in red, if we happen to run into her,
Right.
just keep an eye out. Doesn't know what we're going to do, but I guarantee you, as soon as we walk in the city, she's probably going to know we're there. With her network, or what I assume is her network, that she's going to have advantage to, or access to. Can't speak today.
Well, she may know that we're there, but she might not know what we're doing there.
Well, us traveling with Avendir probably gives a banking, and I'm still not sold that everything's on the up and up from the gathering they had back in Horizon. I think there's some shady dealings going on. That's why I'm happy we're traveling with Avendir. But just as someone who's familiar with the city, I want to kind of ask you to keep an eye out with me and kind of be on the same page. And then I do have one more thing I do want to bug you about. I watched last night. I kind of wanted to bug you, but you really haven't been yourself lately, and you seem really kind of absorbed. I let you be Figured maybe it was the exhaustion getting to you, but you still seem pretty
Okay.
quiet today.
Yeah, well, part of it was just the non-sleep, but that's because of everything that has been going on. And maybe it is good to talk about it. So I'll like search through my bag and pull out Neptus. When I ran in to the 3rd floor to fight that Ludum, of course I was up front, and that's not where I should be. I know that
Agreed.
I'm not best suited. I like don't even have much armor. I don't know what I was doing, but that last hit that knocked me out, I could have been dead. Like, I'm just gonna keep it real. Right? I could have died right on the spot. But I think, and I'll turn the gem so in the light, like the crack of black on the somewhat blue gem shows to Clax. I think he took that away. And I don't know how to navigate the guilt that I have for this entity saving my life when they didn't have to.
Well, I wouldn't view it as guilt. Again, I don't know anything about this stuff. To me, okay, it's a flawed gem. I don't really recall if it was like that prior, but if that was from the fight, and you think it was, what saved you, then just look at it as just like any other traveling companion compatriot. Maybe this Neptus looked out for you like hopefully any one of us would. Would you feel guilty? I mean, you might feel a little bit bad, but it's part of what we signed up for at the Heroes Academy. This is what we got into.
Right.
So don't beat yourself up over it. And plus, the good thing is, if it's just a flaw in that little gem, and I kind of point, like air trace the line kind of thing. Is that something that Flint can look at? I mean, he's handy with all kinds of crazy like stuff, and I imagine I feel like that's like jewel crafting kind of thing. Like, can't he do that stuff? He does a little bit of everything.
Honestly, I don't know. I haven't really talked about it with anyone else.
I won't say anything if you don't want me to, but you're kind of the bright spot at times in this group, so definitely if something's bothering you, let us know.
I appreciate it. I was focusing my time during our watch last night on like writing down my feelings. That's why I wasn't really too involved with what was happening around me, even though I rolled well. But I found that for me, ever since college, it was just easier to write everything down and kind of just lay out the words in a way that makes sense to me. And if I see it written down, my thoughts written down, that I would be able to understand myself better in like stressful situations. But being in a group, realizing now that I maybe need to talk about things instead of writing things down, keeping it to myself. But that's going to take time. I appreciate you coming over here and talking to me.
Absolutely, take as much time as you need. It's been a short period of time, but I've got to know you guys, or I feel I know you guys better than a lot of other people I've met in my life. So, and I'm glad if Neptus took one for the team, so to speak, kept you around. I'm glad. So, and I know it still doesn't make you feel any better, but at least makes me feel a little bit better that maybe there's somebody else looking out after you.
Yeah. Thanks. I'll like give you a hug. I'll like bend down.
Right.
Bend down to give you a hug.
Give him a big hug. Now I'll look up at him, but you're not that much taller than me.
Aesopp
That'd give him
Aesopp has skinnier arms.
And wrap around you, yeah.
You are taller, but give him a good pat on the back and just kind of, all right, I'm going up, check on where we're at. Kind of walk back up front.
As you're putting away the Neptus gem, you just sort of take one more sidelong glance at it. Roll perception check for me, if you don't mind. Yes, you.
Not the greatest.
10. It looks the same, as best as you can tell. That doesn't mean that it's, a 10 means I could have told you the same answer on a 20. I'm just saying it looks familiar. Nothing, you don't see anything stand out different about it.
It's probably just healing and getting better.
Yeah.
Always
It
stay
is,
positive.
yes.
That's how D&D works, right? Problems just solve themselves over time.
Absolutely. I would say probably on the third day. Specifically, like before we're going to bed. So like before we like set up watch. So hopefully at night, I'm gonna go up to Drada. Like, hey, I been working on a little new thing that I think you would really like. I've like been trying to hone my craft a little bit more, working on more like utility spells that would benefit us in sticky situations, because I feel like we're always getting involved in sticky situations.
Who else? No.
And as I read the spell, okay, so you just kind of, I'll take out my book, and it's kind of like lightly levitating off my hands. And as I'm reading the spell too, because it's something that I have to read out loud, you start, like, I don't know if you notice it at first, but you slowly, or instantaneously, depending on the DM, turn invisible. And I'm like, if you could do me a favor, because this doesn't last very long, I would love to test this out real quick. Can you shoot something? Can you fire your crossbow at something? We can go retrieve the bolt after, but I want to see if something happens.
Sure. I find. I think Drada. You get the response directly behind you. Just to be a little fun.
Figured.
There's a big thwack sound at a nearby tree, perhaps.
There you go. Yeah, I was gonna say I shoot a tree.
Okay, the thing I'm looking for, DM, as it is the spell for greater invisibility, does the action cause him to become visible? I'm reading on the spell that it does not, but I would love your take.
Correct. And it's one of those situations that, and Drada would know this, doing this in the nighttime. To have a proper test of this, Drada should be standing in the campfire to have been visible already, since he has that sort of like umbral ability to disappear in darkness. But you see him vanish, and Drada isn't actively hiding while invisible in this moment, and so it's sort of like, even when you're invisible, you have to sort of take the hide action to control your breathing and whatnot, and to not alert those around you. So Drada is standing right in front of you in the campfire, and you hear the thunk of one of the probably be actually from one of the repeating bolts from Flint's infusion. So there's not even a bolt to retrieve, because you see it hit the tree and disappear. But looking down at the imprint of Drada's footstep where he was standing when you cast the spell, you can see that there's still no shape there. Drada has not reappeared.
Before the spell drops, I'll just look in Drada's direction, and whenever you need it.
And you hear as I'm booking it towards wherever your section of tent or wherever you are sleeping at this camp, going, I appreciate you. I've also been working on something. Don't look okay. Bye.
Like, I think they're over there. Okay, okay. Kind of looking in the wrong direction, probably. Yeah.
And next time you go to, I'm saying this also. Would it have been perceptible to Drada that Aesopp has been in a mood / been feeling some big feelings?
Gonna roll me a. I think at this moment Aesop probably feels more fine, but go ahead and give me like a historical insight roll for the last day or so of travel. Okay, yeah, 24. I would say particularly what was noticeable was the shift in demeanor from the day of exhaustion versus the day after a long rest. There's something in the last 24 hours has helped Aesop to recover, and he had been more quiet, so you can't read his mind, but you know something changed.
Regardless, next time Aesop goes to where he keeps his things, he will find you can see there are still multiple, like, edges of the paper are a bit crumpled, as in clearly multiple drafts have been written and then were thrown away, and or like parchment was torn. Remarkably nicely calligraphied. A very bad little poem of appreciation of Drada being like, "Hey, you don't seem like you're doing great," and this is how Drada would express appreciation. I wrote a bad limerick.
Do it.
A minotaur so true, with fashions bright and new, someone to trust with a very cute crush. I'm glad I get to know you. And then clearly Drada signed the bottom and then scribbled out his signature, being like, no.
Can you send that to me on Discord?
Yeah.
Probably right before bed, I'll notice it amongst my belongings, and as everyone's going to sleep, I'll sit up and read it and definitely chuckle. I'm like, "Aw, he tried." And stash it away in my bag next to Neptus, and just remind myself that I do have supportive people around me, and that maybe it is important to actually talk about your feelings instead of just writing them down.
Well, unless anybody stops me, another long rest is concluded. Consonance is closing in. Avendir would have communicated to you that that he anticipates needing to head straight to the Cloudtop Logistics, which I'd say Mouse can roll a history check on that, just for some lore.
Really great at that history.
You know, probably one of those. You feel like you've heard the name, but you don't know what for or why. But as you guys are packing up this morning, he says, I don't think we'll arrive today, perhaps midday tomorrow. I need to get an appointment pretty quickly so that I can turn right back around to Horizon and meet up with Gris and get the caravan rolling. Certainly appreciate the company that you guys have provided, but if you want to stick around in Consonance, you don't have to escort me back.
You're not worried about like upside down rain again or worse?
I feel relatively safe, and the schedule, assuming it's approved without issue, should have some days built in for wiggle room for unforeseen events. But it's just this little journey has become a little bit more interesting than I expected.
How valuable is that schedule?
Valuable.
Yadrata says, whatever is quickest and most efficient for you, let us know what works best.
He turns to Clax and says, you mean like people would... Are you suggesting people would want to buy the schedule?
Oh, I don't think people would want to buy the schedule because the schedule says when you're going to do each release. So that means they know when you'd be showing up at each place, right? With your casts.
Yes.
And now that you're not making casts anymore, well, again, you're retiring from that profession. Let me say it that way. You know, what is the value of a cast now? It's not that I know something's going on, just for whatever reason, there were too many big people at Horizon for the Tournament of Tales that probably had no right being there.
I mean, investors will make a trip anywhere to make a few coins. I don't have the attendance sheet in front of me, but I know at least a couple of them have attended in prior years as well.
I'm just worried about you, is what I'm saying. So if you want an escort back, you're our patron. We're here for you. And I don't mean to speak for the rest of the group, but
Go ahead.
I was gonna say we've been traveling with Avendir for like a few days now,
Yeah.
and like spent a decent amount of time with him. Do we get a sense for like how capable or whatever he is? Like, does he seem like somebody who can handle himself and whatnot, or is he just a doddering old businessman?
It does so happen that Clax just unlocked a new ability.
As soon as you said that's why I was making the faces. I'm like, I'm an idiot. Give me 1 second to pull it up so I can see exactly, because I can ask for certain conditions of it. So
yes,
Give me
it's
2
called Know Your Enemy, but you can really measure up anybody, not just your quote unquote enemies.
Sorry, everything's being slow here.
But Flint, if you want to give me a insight check separate from, I have to answer Sean's questions matter of factly, but your insight check can be something different.
Just a 9.
I would say with a 9, he isn't using a walking stick. Like he's pretty. He's got all his faculties. He has. He's a mobile person.
All right, for me,
Sure.
I think most importantly would be total class levels. But again, feel free to adjust it.
It's difficult to answer because he's not using a character sheet. He's using a stat block. But I would say that, and it's greater or lesser than your class levels is sort of how it's written.
That's fine. But it just says, compared to your own strengths, dex, con, armor class, HP,
Yes.
total class levels, and fighter class. So yeah, just above or below.
Above.
Then I'll go with armor class. See if I spied him rocking any armor or anything else that might be out of sight. You know.
Give me a persuasion check to add to this roll.
Sure thing. Persuasion. There it is. Nope.
Oh, sorry. I meant perception, but I'm still taking the 1. So I will say matter of factly, because your ability does say this. equal, but you do notice that he's only wearing studded leather armor as far as his outfit is concerned. So that may imply any number of things.
I just, to the DM, I do feel a little bit better, but at the same time, I still want to portray the thought of, like, you know, we're here if you have any doubt in your mind type situation.
It's certainly appreciated, and rest assured, I don't want to say that it would never come in handy, but I guess this may sound very high and mighty, and I don't mean it to sound this way, but people tend to know that my casks are trackable. It would be unwise for somebody to steal from me. I don't say that to say I'm going to track somebody down and hurt them, but it's just, I have the certificates that are given with them have the means of individually tracking them.
Understood. But again, if you ever need us for anything, or if you want us to make this return trip, or anything comes up, and you have that magic stuff with Aesopp, if I remember correctly now, right? You guys are pen pals or something?
Of course, yeah. If something comes up, I will write to you and let you know.
Okay.
But I think first things first is to get to Consonance, and maybe we'll meet up before I head out and just sort of discuss whether or not you want to join or not. But let's go ahead and get going. The wagon is sort of, during this time, people are eating breakfast rations and reloading back into the wagon. But there's a little bit more travel time if there's any additional discussions folks want to have.
Clax, you used to be like a guard here in Consonance?
Yep.
And it sounds like you didn't leave on the best of terms? Or
Nope.
what was the deal there? Are you you an outlaw here, or?
No.
That's just saying. That's a shame.
There's a lot more to you, Flint, that I definitely want to know about one of these days. No, it definitely didn't leave on the best of terms. You already met part of my past in Miss Sonibon. Long story short, I tried to do what I thought was right, and I may have gotten some people killed in my haste, and really kind of was, for lack of a better term, put in my place. And needless to say, that just left a very sour taste in my mouth. Without getting into all of it, but I don't have the same perception of Consonance as Aesopp has. I have more of a, and maybe it's because of the nature of the job, City Watch. Your job's not to, you go deal with the worst people and the drug dealers and the thieves and the cut purses and, the people getting fights and brawls. That's the nature of the job, first of all. And then second of all, when you think you have a chance to do right and it doesn't go well, and when you think you have people who back you up and they don't, and things go south, it's not a good situation. So I can't say I'm particularly excited to go back to Consonance, but
I guess as far as dealing with this Lady Vaughn, so you used to be a lawman and, trying to do things the right way. Is that still very much how you want to deal with her, or are you less concerned with due process, or where are you?
Concerned with due process. Hello, Jordan joins the conversation.
Hi, Drada. I honestly don't know yet. My bigger concern right now is our connection to Avendir. Because to be honest, if it weren't for us just having signed on, just being with Avendir, my actions probably would have been very different back in Horizon. So, to your question, I would like to do by the law as much as possible. That being said, she owes me blood. So, but at the same time, not going to put you guys at risk, and I'm not going to sully Avendir's name, but I would really like to see this bitch pay, for lack of a better term.
I can't speak for everyone here, but I feel like risk is half the fun of why we're doing this. So.
That's one thing. You guys have a different take on things than I'm used to. Right, Drada?
As much as possible is, I really love the phrasing of stick to the law as much as possible. It leaves things so open, if needed. All aside, if you need us, however you need us for emotional and or literal support, I'm probably going to be really bad at the first option, but the second option, I'm there.
No, I think, Drada, the biggest thing I'd ask of you, and I already had a similar conversation with Aesopp just because of his familiarity with the city. But really, with you, Drada, is keep your eyes open and maybe keep out of the way so you can see something else coming. And then, Flint, I imagine you probably, with your interesting history that I really am curious about, curious to see if you have any people who might be able to help us out in Consonance. But again, don't want to get anybody in trouble.
I've never been to Consonance, but I'm sure we can get into some trouble.
Why do you guys
Just
always
remember-
want to be directly in trouble?
Just checking. Is Mouse or Aesopp just hang in this vicinity?
I
I'm
figured Mouse
listening.
was listening. I
Okay.
was about to turn and look at Clax and sort of just whisper, but knowing that everyone's right there, be like, so I don't want to assume things, but I think this group's proved that we're pretty accepting and open. If you need blood, we can find a way to help you with that. There's nothing wrong with it.
Drada walks away.
Oh, bless you, little mouse. Bless you, my dear. Just big hearty laugh. Just kind of walks up to Mouse, puts a hand on her head, kind of messes her big pro with sticks in it.
We're gonna have to teach her our expressions and whatnot.
Oh, I don't know if I want to, because that's just too much fun.
Okay, more
Fair.
important question. Not that teaching Mouse common phrases isn't a delivered plot. Hey Aesopp, hey Clax, is there a new bread? Like what's the good pastry situation? Just good food. I don't know. It's a city. There's things to do and places to be.
I mean, I have a nice restaurant we could take us to. First thing we do when we get there, if we're hungry.
I definitely think that whatever you know is probably going to be better than what I know. I think the last restaurant I remember being in was... Everybody holds on. It was pretty seedy bar, known as the Elegant Rapier, but yeah, I wouldn't say it had good food, and it definitely was no bread.
They probably
And
had
there's
bread,
honestly,
but it was probably very stale and one type of bread designed to
Maybe we need
soak
to
up
find.
broth.
Maybe we need somewhere in between because Aesopp's place sounds expensive.
I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but or good news, I guess. Like, I have more money than I've seen in my life in my pocket right now. I think we can have a nice meal if we want.
Well, not to call me out, Flint, but yes, I do have a nice restaurant that we can go to. However, I also know of a pretty delicious kind of hole in the wall restaurant I think would be better suited.
Like it.
Well, onward to food.
Food.
The great motivator. So travel continues uninterrupted. Any sort of final call for as we move on to the next day, the final day of travel? Avendir says that expecting to arrive late afternoon, and he'll want to leave by the within 24 hours of arriving. He's hoping to get out. But as you're sort of packing up in the morning and preparing for the last leg of your trip before you arrive, is there any final conversations or activities that you'd like to do?
I think Drada would ask either Clax, Aesopp, or honestly Avendir also, like, hey, where would be a good place to drop off some mail?
That is a good question. I assume I know where the post offices are. My parents probably sent me to get their mail as a chore in the city.
I mean, like, of all the things I prepared for Consonance, the incoming and outgoing mail system was not one of them. But I will say that, you know, there is sort of the city hall area that tends to be the receiver of mail, and then they have a local post system that delivers it throughout the city. So that would be where you drop it off, or I would say in cases of outgoing mail, Aesopp, you might have people who did that for you sometimes, just within your network.
Yeah.
Several it is.
So yeah, I'll relay that information to Drada. We can make our way over there. Haven't been over there in a while.
Oh my god, old memories, wow.
I know. The nostalgia's just gonna whack me in the face as soon as I step into the city.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else immediately, you arrive, and I'll bring you over to the new map for some joyous sights. I believe none of the pins are pop. So, just so you guys know, because I have the pins that go on the map, even though some of you have been here before, I'm hiding the pins until the party goes there, because it's just a nightmare to manage permissions for individuals. But we will bring you over.
Ooh.
This is Consonance. You, as Avendir's cart is sort of pulling up into the western-facing gate, you are all sort of coming into from the outside. For those of you who haven't been around, you may have like a little bit of fear strike your heart at first, as You see the walls of the city that may remind you of Mistral and sort of their security and general demeanor, but you quickly notice that the walls are not sort of patrolled or lit, or that they seem to be sort of there for structural purposes or for use if needed. But you all walk in the gate without being checked by anybody. There's no guards in the immediate vicinity. And you're greeted with a sort of a warm, just a warm and friendly, bustling neighborhood as you first come in. Just sort of pinging over here. The environment around here is, at this time of day, sort of, you see like the farm as you're sort of starting to walk by, that things seem to be winding down and people are sort of finishing their day's work. But people are cheerful. People are, sort of basking in the labor of a good day's work where you are currently. And as you sort of look around, the structures look pretty well put together, not really like dilapidated or anything like that. And Clax, this is a district that you've known to be a little bit more peaceful in the past, perhaps because you know that the barracks is here, which is kind of a little bit of a crime deterrent perhaps in the local region. But you are now in Consonance, and as Avendir's wagon is pulling up, he sort of finds a stable near the gate and parks the wagon and removes the gem from the inlay on the front that had been pushing wind into the sails on it. And he says, well, forgive me, I don't want to just jet right away, but I do have a few meetings to get to. Could meet you back here in maybe like tomorrow evening, early evening. If you want to come. If not, you can see me off, or we can stay in touch through the journal.
I'm all in favor of meeting up. That way, see how things are going. Make sure you're still comfortable and everything's good.
Very good. Well, does anybody need anything before I head off?
Be safe.
Any suggestions where we check out first?
What are you looking for?
Oh. Shop? Place to stay? Is there a good
What are the sights to see?
Well, there's, I suppose, oh man. He sort of pauses as sort of like the impact of the question hits him, like where do I start?
There's a lot to see. I can try my best to be our local city tour guide. I don't know everything. Maybe Clax could help me out as well, depending on the district we're in. But I do know of a nice dinner spot that we can go first. And maybe we'll run into something on the way there.
Great. Well, I will be in touch if anything comes up tonight, but otherwise I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. He kind of just
Stay safe.
He
Bye.
gives a low bow, or not a low bow, but a mild bow, and starts heading off in a southeastern direction.
Aesopp, can we just crash at your place? You have family residence here?
Sleepover. I mean, we've been camping. That we've already. It feels like a sleepover.
I would love that. However, I don't know. I mean, I would love to if my parents were back from whatever they were doing, but I don't know how would that work out if they were back and the interactions and who are you people in our home, you know. But as of right now, I don't see why not.
What restaurant were you considering taking them to?
Mother Mary's.
Okay. You would know that to be somewhat close to your family home as well. So if you want to swing by, it wouldn't be out of the way.
Okay. Do we
Yes,
want to
sir.
drop off our? Oh, what? Yes.
I was just gonna say, are we heading towards the Northern District or Northern Heights then?
I gotta search through.
Yes.
Does it say in the
Doesn't
document where the home is?
Doesn't it?
Under family home, it does not.
Okay, it is in the Northern Heights.
Okay, then yes. We are going to the Northern Heights district.
Clax know that.
That
How did Clax know that?
I've given the two players from here a handout that is tailored to them.
Fair.
I'm making some assumptions based on his proximity to the college. So,
Oh, I thought
and
this was
I've
gonna be
patrolled
like-
a lot of these districts over my time. Doesn't mean I'm intimately familiar with them, but I've been through the main streets on all of them, been through some shady alleys and some of the others. Even been a little bit of time in the edge. Not much, but I've been a little bit of everywhere. So I probably can get us in and out of a district, but depending on where it's been, you know, like I probably know Stone Landing and Van Century pretty well.
So we head for the Northern Heights?
Yep, sorry, just spilled water on myself. Off we go!
Amazing.
At one point mid this trip, Drada does try to take Clax aside and be like, "Hey, is the Northern Heights like is Aesopp's family like rich? Like, is this gonna be like big bougie vibes?"
Alright, so there's rich, and then there's rich. I think he's in the rich category. I don't think he's in the rich, if that makes sense.
Love that for us. Love that for us.
I didn't quite catch what you said, but
Love that for us.
okay.
You all are guided by Aesopp down the streets. The Stone Landing, the first district you're starting in, it seems largely residential buildings, although you do see some taller stone structures sort of at the intersection, as well as one that is surrounded by a large fence, sort of just pinging here. But you eventually cross some gates to another district, which seems more residential, but so I didn't go to the detail of like coloring the roofs and stuff, but this area seems a little bit more verdant and blue. The Van Century district has a lot of waterworks throughout it, be it sort of fountains or really in the fountain territory. But as you sort of are working your way through the streets, you also see a site that not many of you are really familiar with, but there's a lake as you're sort of like passing through the city streets. You sort of see in the distance, and it just sort of strikes you as like an interesting area that is sort of stark difference against Stone Landing. The people here seem, as it's getting later in the day, you're starting to see a little bit less traffic on the streets. Is it Aesopp who's leading? If you want to give me a perception check.
I would also like to add a little detail in my perception check. I'm also looking out for any other minotaurs. Just seeing if they're. I haven't seen any of my people in a hot second. So
Sure.
just kind of seeing they're out and about. If I recognize anyone.
Sure. I will, because if your sheet doesn't have details, I will say that the recovery squad headquarters is in the factory precinct, the southernmost district, and based on what's described in your sheet, you can probably figure out which building it is. But
it does say on my sheet. Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
It's all good. But as you're sort of passing through here, you don't see anybody who you're quite familiar with up in this district.
Okay.
But with a 17, let me. Sorry, go ahead.
I rolled a 17, but I got 21.
Oh, yes, with 21. Okay. It is not something that... It's something that occurs to you as much as you spot it. But once upon a time... It's sort of like you've lived in Consonance long enough to know where things generally are, but you just don't think about them until they're in front of you sometimes. And as you're passing through the Van Centenary district, you sort of have a ping of memory that when you were researching Neptus originally in Horizon, one of the locations that had been sort of identified to you was that there's a temple to Vapos here. And as you're sort of like passing through the gates to the Northern Heights, you sort of like see it down an alley, a sort of large structure that has sort of like waterfalls careening off of it, and you're like, oh, that's probably what it was referring to. Should you choose to go there at some point. But you all continue, and as you enter the Northern Heights, nobody really needs to roll a perception to just see a grand sort of limestone building, set of buildings in front of you. And let's say people except Aesopp could make an insight check. Ooh, I like that new dice.
Two.
So, as you are all sort of observing Aesopp, who I imagine there's maybe mild oration of some of the things that I am explaining as the DM, but there's a moment where Aesopp pauses and sort of like is looking at the building here, and probably a slight smile on his face. That is Titlefall University.
Yeah. As like we enter through the gates, and here's where Titlefall University is, where I went to school. And as I kind of like look over, just flash of memories just going through my eyes and just running through my head. I get a bit lost in the moment, and I think I need someone to like jolt me back into reality to be like, moving on.
And sort of this area of town seems to be more, a little bit more, a mixture of sort of this university and what might be a university district that you would expect. There's people who are choosing to live close here, as you see a number of people dressed in scholarly robes or students' clothing, some who are younger, some who are more parents' age, some people who may be more faculty type folks. As you're sort of wandering through this area, you're getting that, not that all the characters here have necessarily been to a university. In fact, I think none of them have, except Aesopp. But you're getting what we know out of character to be like a college town vibe from this neighborhood. Where would you like to lead them first? Your family home. You're going to pass it on the road. If you're going all the way to Mother Mary's, but
Yeah,
so
I
could
think
stop
whatever when we hit first, I'll probably stop at.
Okay.
So it'd probably be the family home.
Okay. And maybe that would be a good time to take a quick break. And then we will come back as you sort of tell us what that looks like, and we'll see what happens from there. All right.
Sounds good.
we're back. Before you arrive at the Trin family home, one sort of glaring detail that I forgot to mention as you're sort of walking through these city streets, that the walls that you have seen dividing the districts are in large contrast to the gigantic citadel in the what you as players can determine to be the center of the city. But this whole time, as you've been sort of navigating the city streets, which you've only been doing for about 2 hours so far, the city is very condensed compared to some of the other ones you've been to. But this entire time, there's been almost an almost intimidating or imposing structure of the citadel sort of looming central to this city. It is quite a sight to behold. The walls are smooth alabaster that are whiter than any surface you've seen. But we'll get into that later, because as you're approaching the Trin family house or estate, please describe Tyrion. God, I thought that's what it was, but I was like, no, I always get it wrong. It's Trin. Okay. The Tyrion family household. Could you please describe, sort of from the exterior, what it looks like?
Oh god, I didn't think of the exterior. Okay. So kind of walking in the neighborhood of my house as we're trying to like get to my individual home. I would say a lot of these buildings are like taller in the architectural scale just to fit the people who are kind of housed in them. As Minotaurs tend to usually like stick together, and we kind of have our own neighborhood. So you might be seeing other Minotaurs walk around, mixed with various other races, of course. But
unfortunately, you don't at the moment.
Just Minotaurs.
No,
or just no one at all.
No, you don't see any Minotaurs presently.
Got it. So, walking around, I would say the buildings are a little bit more taller than what we've usually seen in terms of like residential. Oh god, on the fly. Getting to my specific home, I would say it is more of a one-story home, but a taller roof. There's not really much of a yard, as things are a little bit more packed in. Homes are kind of not San Francisco style, but there's just not a lot of yard space around the home. Wood, kind of metal framing. I would say not a simple home. It's definitely more, I want to say regal or pizzazzy than the other districts we've been in, but definitely more foundationally built than other districts that we've traveled across. But plain and simple on the outside. My parents didn't really see really interest or a need to really decorate the outside of the home or like improve the little amount of space we did have, as a lot of the time we weren't there. But they definitely like to keep our home well interiored. I'll say that.
Go ahead and roll me a perception check, Aesopp, as you're sort of, you had
Sure.
described the Minotaurs as being here, and I do want to sort of respect what you would be keeping an eye out for. It is, it's not quite sunset yet, but this is the time of day that would align with people going home. And like you said, you would expect to see some of your clansmen, for lack of a better word, returning home, neighbors coming home at this hour. But you don't see you don't see any signs of like distress or anything to be worried about. You just don't see anybody. A lot of the homes look like the windows and blinds are closed. Like they're just not currently occupied. But as you approach, what to some of you, specifically Mouse and Flint, might see, just because of the scale difference between a gnome, a halfling, and a minotaur, might seem to you like a pretty grand building. But perhaps you recognize to be a more moderate and comfortable home for somebody of their size. You come up to a wide set of double doors, Aesopp, that mark the entry to your home.
I do have to say, kind of turning around and looking at everyone, my parents probably aren't home, which kind of makes me sad, because, of course I haven't seen them in a while. But to add on to the fact, there isn't anyone else around, which means that they're all on a mission. And that kind of has me worried, but...
Wait.
Do all Minotaurs go on missions?
What?
Yeah, the recovery squad is Minotaurs.
I knew it.
Okay, follow-up question. Are there Minotaurs who aren't on the recovery squad?
Yes. They would probably be at in the factory precinct district, probably doing administrative roles for the organization. Kind of working with the government, like a liaison almost.
So, nope, okay.
Oh. But the Minotaurs all, like, maybe not explicitly for the recovery squad, but, like, they all more or less work together.
As probably none of you are familiar with Minotaur culture, very much a group-centered culture. So when the recovery squad was created, we kind of all just felt the need to help support our community, help fighting back to back with each other on the battlefield, or supporting other people against the elements. So a lot of our people did feel the need to recruit themselves into the organization. That's why a lot of people do involve themselves in the recovery squad. However, it is not all like everyone joins, like me.
Are there non-Minotaur members of the recovery squad?
Reading on my notes, I would say so, but majority being Minotaurs.
Yeah, I mean, I as the DM haven't sort of determined this yet, but my assumption was that it is a business that has been not a business, an industry, so to speak, that that has been passed down upon Minotaur families for some time, and as a result, a lot of the seniority and population who carry on with the work are Minotaurs. But certainly there are those who are interested and have either joined on a contract basis or have been sort of brought on as they're not it's not like they're not welcoming of others. It's just, it happens that these skill sets tend to be passed down, if that makes sense. At this point, you guys have been sitting sort of what I imagine to be on this, like, the stoop of Aesopp's family home for a couple minutes now. Clax, go ahead and roll me a perception check.
was almost a 20.
So maybe not.
As you are sort of keeping an eye out, as I expect you to be generally within the city, perhaps it's because of your height, perhaps it's something else, but sort of under your sort of eye level, you hear a
I turn towards the direction of it.
and then you have to look down. And you see a goblin figure wearing sort of standard guard armor, but more of the light armor sense. And behind them a ways, you see somebody standing, a water genasi woman, sort of standing on the perimeter of where you all are as this goblin sort of speaks, not strictly to you, Clax, but to the party, who didn't notice their approach, and sort of says, "Everything good here? Do you guys need something?"
Do I recognize the watch group or recognize any of them?
Roll history with advantage. I kind of imagine that you don't have an intricate knowledge of every single watch person.
No, I
but,
just didn't
yeah.
know if it was one of those where I'd get a 14.
Based on their gear, which each watch group sort of has a tell, sort of, or a specialty, or sort of a demeanor about them. You recognize for the trained eye that they all sort of have a green cloak, sort of like a cloak over the top that goes into a short cape. The cloak is pushed back over the goblin's ears, and they're not hiding who they are, but it sort of is an indicator to you that you're able to pick up on.
I'll turn to him and say, "Nope, we're just on our way. Sorry, 1 second. To Mother's Mary, and we're stopping by our friend's house. He hasn't heard from his parents in a while, and he wanted to check in. Taking a look at you. Is Lieutenant Longbow around?"
He kind of gives you narrows his eyes a little bit, sort of discerning, and says, "Sure, still around."
Is he on watch tonight, or is he is tonight his night off?
I think he's around. Should I call for him?
Don't call for him. If you don't, next time you run into him, just let him know that Class Oxus is back in town, and I'm just gonna be grabbing some dinner down at Mother's Mary. And your name?
Go and roll persuasion check for me.
Whew, pulled that one out of my rear.
He sort of looks at the goblin sort of looks at you and is sort of investigating the group, trying to get a read on everybody at this moment. There's an air of like, are you guys loitering?
We're casing the joint,
in
right?
the air. Yeah, there's an air of, are you loitering in the air, but you're not being accused of anything. But his expression sort of lightens and says, "I'm Hashak." Points behind him. That's Ulma. Just making sure everything's on the up and up.
Well, hey, Hashak. Pleasure to meet you. We're gonna be in town at least for a day, possibly longer. So if you see the lieutenant, no obligation on his part, but if he wants to meet up, I wouldn't mind touching base with him. But if not, no worries. Other than that, like I said, our buddy here, this is his estate. He just hasn't seen his parents in a while. So we were swinging by to see if there was any sign of them here, but we've been on the road for the last couple days, so we're going to go grab some grub first before we figure out what we're going to do. If you need me, you can reach out to me, though.
He nods, but then looks towards Aesopp and says, "Town's been pretty quiet for the last few weeks."
I've
Don't-
been hearing. Yeah. Any word why? Like like Clax said, haven't been around.
I hear things, but it's not my place to say.
Great.
So I'm just kind of look at him. I said, "I'm sure you hear things, but I think it's more important that you keep a trained eye on the road. So if you come across any information that might help."
He sighs and walks off.
I literally just laugh out loud, just turn.
You do notice that they are, they continue down the road, but are sort of staying within eyeshot of you, just sort of seeing if anybody is trying to break into this house, but they seem to be not a threat at the moment.
Aesopp, did you want to go in, or do you want to get food first?
We can chop our stuff off here. There should be plenty of space.
All right.
So I'll pull out my key ring. No, I'm kidding. I'll just unlock the door.
Do you have a key?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have a key ring.
Okay.
But I definitely a key.
Okay. It was locked. I will just sort of confirm for you. But as you sort of
When puts his lockpicks back in his bag.
You unlock the doors, and please sort of walk us through the inside.
Have to say was not prepared. However, I do have to say as a general theme for the home, if you can imagine like war memorial relic chic, just trophies upon trophies with like portraits of the family, which it's just me, my mother, my father, only child. Shocker. So along with like portraits of the family, separate and together, all around the house, it's just relics from past battles or like destroyed armor as keepsakes, like weird medals in jars, or like just things you could only find on a military escapade mission sort of feel. And then every once in a while, you'll see, as you've all probably seen at this point, some drawing or like a written poem, like in a frame made by me on the wall. And it just little tiny dots amongst the very rather sometimes big and eyesore-ish relics scattered about.
Are a lot of these relics more martial in type of relics?
Some are. A lot of them are more elemental based.
Okay.
So like damaged wood from a fire elemental, or like water from like a water elemental fight, just very elemental themed with martial weapons and armor kind of mixed into that. Some destroyed, some not.
Clax definitely kind of wanders over like the different equipment, both weapons and armor, and even the broken ones, and just a very curious eye checking them out, and it's really neat.
Kind of looking at Trot a little bit too. Yeah, my mother was before she met my dad and joined the recovery squad, she probably wouldn't admit this, but she was a mercenary. Definitely mercenary background.
Many questions.
And I'll point to one of her previous daggers that she has wielded in the past for Drada to look at if he wants to.
Oh, Drada's fully engrossed and found some like angsty 13-year-old poetry up on the wall, and is really just like everyone getting distracted by the dagger, but just really sinking into what your artistic voice was early in its development.
Very much the only child's artistic drawing and or poem on a refrigerator kind of feeling. But they kind of never took it down.
Flint is definitely just trying to gauge where on that rich to rich spectrum Aesopp's family is based on this house.
You can roll me an intelligence check, we'll say. But Aesopp, if you could also just give me I would say, before I tell you what to roll, are you giving the full tour? Are you dropping off your bags and just talking about what is immediately in the living room? Are you doing a walkabout, or are you just sort of like...
I would probably let everyone drop their bags and walk around like the living spaces, kitchen spaces, kind of like communal spaces around the house. I would say bedrooms are off limits for now, especially my parents.
Okay.
But I would like to go in them just to see if there have been any traces, writings, anything of like why they left, or was it in a hurry, were they in danger, sort of thing.
Okay. Go ahead and give me a investigation check in that case.
Not my strong suit, but you know what? We'll try our best.
Okay. Flint with a 21 on the rich to rich scale. This is, I would say, definitely not the rich scale. These are, you imagine that everything in here sort of is a prized memento for one reason or another. You don't really see sort of like museum pieces, so to speak, even though it sort of has that aura about it, but it's more trophies, and it's sort of like, and that sort of tells you that these aren't things that were bought, they were won, or things that were earned. And the place is well taken care of. In fact, it seems very clean in here, but the reality is that it's not garish or gaudy or anything like that.
Quite comfortable and respected, but not
Yeah.
like lords and nobles. And...
Yeah. Investigation check 19. You go into your parents' room and you see a stack of letters. You imagine that their mail has been being collected, sort of set neatly on the bed. What I imagine to be just a fucking gigantic bed to fit 2 minotaurs in it. But you sort of, the impression you get from that immediately is that they must not be here to pick up or read their mail at the moment, which sort of affirms things that you've heard. And as you're sort of poking around, you open up the closet that you... Tell me if this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of in Aesopp's mind, trying to see how involved they're getting. Maybe take a look in their like armor closet.
Yeah, they definitely have one.
Yeah,
the one for each.
You open it, and you open the first one, and your mother's armor is there. You do notice that perhaps some of her notebooks or keepsakes or things that she would maybe wear with her or in a decorative sense seem to not be there presently. But her full kit that she would use back in the day seems sort of stored in its rightful place.
My immediate thought to that was, so it's not super dangerous or awful. So that gives me a point of clarity and hope. I'll check my dad's.
You open your dad's drawer, and can you make a dexterity saving throw for me?
I've been gone so long, I forgot.
It is. See. You don't really have to keep track of hit points in this sort of circumstance because we're going to rest and not have much of an issue. But you would take 2 damage, and it's not from a trap or anything. What you see is the terrified reaction of a scared woman who her first instinct was to stab whoever was opening this door. She was hiding inside of the closet.
Oh.
You just get kind of grazed, and then she's like, "You shouldn't be here," and then sort of watching the blood trail down your cheek. She's like, "Oh, sorry, I thought it was a burglar."
No, hey, I'm their son.
Sorry. Oh.
I'll point to like the family portrait that they most definitely have on their wall. I'll just point to like me in the middle.
You look down at this woman who is gnomish of descent and sort of wearing what you expect to be like a simple housekeeper's uniform. And she sort of like withdraws the dagger and just sort of drops it, not really knowing what she was doing. Definitely a dagger of your father's, one of the many that he would keep, and you look past her and see that his armor has been taken, as well as weapons and things of that nature. And she says, I'm sorry. Apologies. I'm just a little startled. I haven't seen anybody in a while. Expected somebody to let me know.
Well, I apologize for making sudden entrance. Just I haven't been home in a while, and the group I've been traveling with, we just made it into the city. How long has it been since my parents left?
She's trying to read you in this moment. I'm not going to make you roll because of your crazy persuasion, but she's quickly put at ease by you and says, "Okay, yes, they just it was about 3 weeks ago, maybe 3.5 weeks ago. They said they had paid me up front for the rest of the season, but they said that they would be back in 2 weeks, and so I've just been staying here until somebody tells me otherwise, because I'm paid up for a little bit longer, but I haven't seen them, and they're a little overdue."
Oh, so there's not 2 weeks left. The time that they mentioned they would be back has already came and gone.
Yeah, I was expecting them back a week ago, and I was like, a day or two. I have clients that do that all the time, but
Right. Give me one quick second, DM. I'm gonna just check something real quick.
sure.
Okay. How much would have been the extra time you stayed here?
Well, they paid through the end of the season. I'm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but if they don't come back in a good week and a half, then she sort of just trails off, sort of assuming that you understand.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't make me feel good at all, but I appreciate the information. Like I said, I am their son, Aesopp. Nice to meet you.
Kelby. Kelbi.
That was close. I really do appreciate you tidying up the home while they were gone. I honestly don't know when they'll be back either. So if you have other jobs lined up or other things you need to do, I would say you are absolutely free to go do that.
Are you asking me to leave? I mean, I'm happy to stay until my contract's up.
If it's fine for you, then great. I'm not trying to uproot your life if staying here causes that. So whatever works for you works for me too.
Okay. Well, I was about to. It's getting late, so I'll be back in the morning.
Okay. I do have a key. So if you see a Minotaur walk in, it's me with this beret. And I'll kind of like lead Kelby out into the living room. Like, these are my friends.
Oh.
So
Hello.
if any of them walk into the home, it's fine.
You all see a gnomish woman with a confused look on her face, and she's sort of like trying to memorize each of your faces, and says, "Okay, all right, I'm off then."
Alrighty, have a good night.
She scampers away. Your read is that she's put at ease, but just the situation of being surprised.
Right, it was a lot.
Yeah,
all at once.
But she has been reassured, but it's time to go home. So, but you now have the house to yourself.
Well, parents are definitely not here, and in fact, they're late. She was paid for a certain amount of time, and she expected them to be back by now, at least on their timeline they mentioned before they left, which does not put me at ease.
How late are we talking?
An extra week, almost 2.
Did you know where they were?
No.
How long of a walk would it be over to the factory precinct area where?
Yeah,
like,
how long of a walk would it be?
Here are aware is that as sort of magnificent as the Citadel in the middle might be, is that it is a major roadblock. And you also both know that the Marble Walls district is not it's not an open path. You tend to need permission of some form or fashion to walk through that. So you would have to go all the way around back to the Van Centery, Stone Landing, then the factory precinct.
I feel like by the time we get there, everyone will probably be headed home. So asking someone over there might not be the best.
Maybe we head over there in the morning?
That would make me feel better. It's not surprising that my father took all of his belongings, trying to be the great hero again. But it worries me that they're not back. If they were confident about a timeline, and then them missing that timeline.
There's some reason why your father would have taken all his gear and equipment, but your mother wouldn't have?
My parents are definitely getting older. Before I left, my mom's kind of fading out the mercenary, kind of going out on mission life. Definitely trying to be more of a in the home kind of woman. But my dad can't seem to transition into that life as well as she has. So I'm assuming that whatever opportunity they got to go out again, my father absolutely would have taken it. And my mom's support probably is supporting him 100% and joined as well. So
seem, from everything we've heard, like very capable people. I'm sure they're fine, just maybe they found more people that needed help.
That's true. Just, it would make me feel better finding out the actual mission that they were on. Hopefully, I am high enough to be keen to that information, but we shall see.
Talk your way into it. You got this. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
But we're free to rest here for the night. I bet we're all hungry. So when y'all are ready, we'll head out for some dinner.
I'm ready whenever.
I love it. At some point, yeah, I need to make a post office visit. I don't know when convenient to do that, but like, tell me where to go and I'll go.
You would probably have, assuming that you Aesopp did not want to make the trek all the way to the factory precinct, you would have probably, generally speaking, if you wanted to send mail, you would have done it through the Titlefall campus. Like they have a mail center, or people would come over. Like because of your parents' position, sometimes like assistants might come over and do things like they would do things like that. Alternatively, if you do go to the factory precinct, you know that the recovery squad headquarters can route mail for you, or that all the way in the Southern Heights, kind of in the city hall, like is where City Hall is, and that's probably where you would drop it off yourself.
Let me clarify. It's Avendir's mail, so it should probably definitely happen.
So why don't we go to the campus as it is closer? We can just get that done tonight.
Incredible. Oh my god, and you can show us around your glory days. Wow. Oh my god, only you have to like you have to walk backwards the entire time.
Yes.
Like
I'll make sure I'll point out every spot
yes.
me and my acapella group sing at.
Wait, will Rory be around? Is he?
I didn't even think about that. That's so weird. Probably.
So we're not getting dinner collectively tonight. 5 of us will be getting dinner, and you will be off doing whatever you so please, and we love that for you.
No, I haven't even contacted him. I will be getting dinner with everyone.
So is the plan to drop off mail first or get dinner first? You're pretty confident that everything's going to be open regardless to which order you do it in.
Let's do dinner first, if that's okay with everyone. That way we can just tour the campus.
Okay. You all leave the Tiern family home, and just a short 20-minute walk away, you find yourselves in, as Aesopp had described it, pretty much a hole in the wall. There's a sign that says Mother Mary's, and Mary is spelled not M-A-R-Y, but M-E-R-R-Y. And this seems like a house, like a smaller house, not a squatting location or anything, but a house that has been retrofitted to host people for a small kitchen. You expect, just looking at it, that the chef must live in a room in the back. Like, it seems like it's somebody's home that they're choosing to cook out of for the people. As you sort of peek your head in, immediately sort of extremely aromatic spices hit your nose. Something in the realm of like curry or chili, and the waft of warm bread as well. And you see a tabaxi woman and well, you see a tabaxi woman at the front, who sort of has like bright white fur with some gray streaks through it. Pretty young looking. And you sort of enter, and there's like a bell that rings on the door. And she turns around saying, starting to say like, oh, welcome, welcome, we have seats. And then she looks over and sees Aesopp standing behind everybody else and says, welcome back, new friends.
Hi, Sky. How are you?
Hey there. New crew?
New crew.
Okay.
Old crew's still around. Old crew's still around. Just I joined an adventures guild. Crazy.
Oh.
I know. Yeah.
Oh.
So.
There's the. Everybody else can roll an insight check, having never met this woman before. Drada, no clue, of course. The rest of you rolled pretty well. I'd say Flint only catches a whiff of this, but both Clax and Mouse, there's an air of caution over you. There's this like, I don't know these people, why are they in my house sort of vibes. But nonetheless, she seems warm and friendly with Aesopp, and she's like, well, come in. We have, we can take care of you, of course. And she'll guide you through what is almost like a foyer living room into a 3-table sort of dining room where you imagine that there probably was a living room and then they knocked down the walls so that they could fit a few more tables in here. And she scoots 2 tables next to each other so that you and your entire group can sit. And says, I think Mary has some chili being prepared, which looks at Aesopp, which you'll be able to eat, don't worry.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
What do you guys want? You want chili?
What else you got?
She has to look over like with your previous insight check. She has the look on her face like she was hoping you wouldn't ask that.
You know what? Bowl of chili's fine. Actually, if you don't mind, if you got enough, I'll take 2. I'm hungry.
All right, big spender. All right, well, we'll be back. I'll be back, and we'll get you taken care of. She like sort of walks backwards away, sort of eyeing people before she turns around into the kitchen where you're hearing sort of like clattering pots and pans as you all sort of sit down in this like retrofitted kitchen.
Definitely mom and pop, as we're inside somebody's home right now. To be honest, they weren't super friendly with me. My best friend in college actually found the place, and they didn't like any of us entering their home either until we became regulars. And I'll kind of like flip the table a little bit, and underneath the table that I'm sitting at, which, by the way, very cramped, is like all like my old crew's names, like kind of etched in underneath the table. We came here a lot. It was kind of our escape from studies restaurants when we really needed to study or go to an event, and we decided not to do any of that and just eat our heart's way. They kind of took us in.
What are you talking about? She seems like really lovely and welcoming.
I mean, she is. She's just... They're mainly a tabaxi restaurant, so like the tabaxi communities around Consonance love and are very much well known amongst the family that owns this restaurant. But besides that one community, it is not really talked about or well known.
Was one of your friends at Tabaxi? in your
Um,
old crew?
I think she stumbled upon it too, but her charisma, she probably finagled her way into their hearts pretty easily, so she kind of became like family to them too.
The door jingles from the outside, and you see two tabaxi sort of entering, and are quickly intercepted by Sky as they're sort of eyeing your table down. There's like a mild look of recognition that you have, Aesopp. These aren't people that you've specifically spoken to, but you imagine that they've been told that you're good. So they're just sort of like looking at the mystery group that is here. And then Sky sort of says, "Your table's ready, of course. I'll be right out." And they sort of sit down without saying a word and just sort of like seem to be fiddling with daggers and equipment that they have on them.
Are we in like a gangster's like private restaurant or something?
Who knows? But the family owns it. Lovely people.
Who knows is your response to that question?
I just have a smile on my face.
I am going to just kind of observe them. Not directly, so it might take a couple minutes, but I kind of want to understand why if they're fiddling with their weapons and everything else to understand where I fit against them.
Know your enemy everywhere. now. Everybody's my enemy. Go ahead and just roll me an insight check.
Sure thing. For me, not bad.
Yeah, they are pretty guarded though, in this sense. So what I was thinking of revealing, I'm not going to. But is there some stuff you'd particularly like to learn about them?
Since they're handling their weapons, I just want to know if they're I guess hit points.
Less than yours.
All right, and then let's go with AC.
Well, they're currently not wearing their armor, so assuming that they have armor. So I would encourage you to pick something different because that sort of flavors things.
Yep, not a problem. Give me 1 second. Let's go with do I think they're tougher than me? Constitution.
Sorry, Constitution. No, they are not.
Okay. All right, go kind of relax a little bit. Feel comfortable.
We'll lean over to Clax. Clax, does Consonance have like a tabaxi mob or anything? Is there?
So, in the Northern Heights, not that I'm aware of, but this is definitely interesting. When we get into some of the other areas, especially the Factory District, let me make sure I'm saying that right. 1 second, sorry. Yeah. In the Factory District, there's no official gang to speak of, but there's a lot of talk down that way. Up here, I'm actually surprised a little bit up here, but just keep your eye out.
Maybe I'm just imagining.
I'm in nostalgia world, and I'm like, and that's where we did that, and that's where we did over there. No, I'm not noticing any of this.
Can you just roll me a wisdom check, Clax?
Sure thing. Check wisdom. Big number. Oh, 15.
Okay, I'm just making sure you didn't glaze over it. You do know some, like tabaxi is a word that is in your handout.
1 second.
If you do Control F, pride.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's I didn't put two and two together. That.
Yeah, I would say without over revealing what you may want to reveal yourself, like your familiarity is that tabaxi tend to stick pretty close together, and given that you are now in a building with 4 of them,
Okay.
you wonder
I
if you're in like a little neighborhood of some kind.
I might amend my comments then to Flint. Sorry, Clint. Flint. So Flint, there's not so, and I'm just leaning in, kind of whispering. There's not so much any mafia or gang presence or anything along those lines, but at least in this town, as much as the Minotaurs stay together for Aesopp's world, the Baxi tend to hang pretty tight together in this one, and they've got some, I don't want to say undue influence, but they stay tight together. So if we're walking to Tabaxi Strongden, which I had no clue about, we probably are not really welcome here.
It's fine.
Sky walks out with another woman who Aesopp you know to be Mary, who seems to be on the older side. It sort of has like patches of fur that are a little bit more unkempt than the rest, but wearing sort of like a chef's outfit. Pretty clean. She doesn't look like a dirty cook or anything, but she has a warm smile on her face upon seeing Aesopp, and you see that rather than individual bowls of chili, perhaps after hearing about Clax's appetite, they decided to just get like a large bowl and to bring the ladle. So several bowls are set up around you, and there's sort of a bowl with chili in it and a bowl with rice on it, as well as a plate of bread that is dropped off. And Mary says, "Good to see you. Good to meet some new folks."
It's absolutely wonderful to see you, and I hope that you have been doing well.
Of course. Please tell me about these people.
So if everyone wants to introduce themselves.
Hey, I'm Clax. This looks amazing.
Clax. Flint.
Lovely place you have here.
And your name was?
Sorry, I'm Mouse.
Sorry, I know you're trying to stay comfortable with your back. She says, "Okay, Mouse, and you?"
Hi, I'm Drada, and I'm really, really excited for chili.
Great.
We all kind of joined a venturing guild, and we've been together for a while. And I consider them my friends. A really good group of friends.
How long is a while? I feel like I saw you not too long ago.
Don't actually know as a player how long it's been.
Like 6 weeks. But it's been an active 6 weeks.
Like 2 months.
But sorry, we do seasons in this, so 2 months is a long time. Because there's only spring, summer, fall, winter. So 6 weeks is a more accurate way to say it. But
however, they have saved me in dire need and restraint from certain death, and so I absolutely value and trust them with my own life, as I do with my old crew. This is just a new one.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. In that case, friendly warning, this is quite spicy unless you drizzle a little bit of this on it. Get the impression that she was going to keep that from you, depending on how friendly you were. But she drops off a sort of small jar of lime juice to help balance things out for anybody who is spice averse. And she says, "Drinks for anybody? If you're going spicy, I recommend a little bit of milk."
Oh.
Or
any alcohol?
Yes, I'm sure we have something.
Oh no! If you don't have anything
it's-
available,
It's. I will be back. And you see Sky has sort of wandered off from this and is sort of chatting at the other table as well. But Mary steps away to go fetch some drinks.
Isn't she so nice? She is such a lovely lady. I have made, well, me and my friends we've made a lot of great memories here, and she dealt with our shenanigans so much. Surprised we didn't get kicked out.
Not sure they like us quite as much as they like you yet. But
Yeah.
We'll get that. We'll
Yeah.
get but it is very spicy for those who do not handle the spice world. I would recommend getting a drink. I'm already diving into the food.
Oh yeah, I don't think Clax is waiting, and being stubborn, Clax is absolutely trying it first, without the lime juice.
Yeah, and you all can tell me your character's spice tolerance. I would assume that a dragonborn who spits fire out of their mouth can withstand a little bit of heat. So you have no issue with this at all. In fact, it is for people who might not have spice tolerance, they sort of would quickly say like, "Oh yes, this is it," because all they're feeling is the heat coming off of it. But you, with your tolerance, get to experience the flavor behind that heat, and it's quite delicious. You think back, and you're not. Maybe it's just a long day of travel, or maybe it's something else. But this might be the best chili you've ever had.
Good, right, Clax?
This is amazing. I am so glad she brought the pot.
And as you're eating it, and it's vegan.
Oh, oh.
This is
Pretty
where
good.
Cultural love and acceptance. This is the future the D&D liberals want.
we're sweating, but dealing with it, I think.
I can't. Mouse just like grew up eating like raw wasabi roots, or if she's never tasted a spicy thing in her life.
I would say in the sort of you correct me if this sounds wrong, but in the airship business, especially the transportation business, you sort of the shipping business you were in before, you've probably transported spices before, and so therefore the ship cook has probably introduced you to a few things now and then, but that were definitely foreign to back home. But this is strong. You've gotten a little bit of like a hint of cayenne in or something like that in sort of ship food that you've had, but this is like
I went to the Thai restaurant and asked it for home style.
Yes. I expect that Mouse would need to use some of the lime juice after feeling her nose start to drip. At some point, Mary would have returned with some simple drinks. She says, "I found this in the back," and she puts like a single bottle that is clearly dusty of a beer in front of Clax. She says, "All yours. On the house for a good friend, Aesopp."
Oh, thank you, Mother Mary. So kind.
And I gotta say, this chili is amazing. Like,
It's so good.
no joke, it is amazing.
Always hits.
I know. Well, is there anything else that you need? Should I pack some for you to take home?
It is quite all right. We actually just got into town today. I needed a quick bite, and so I thought this would be the perfect place to go to first.
Good. Well, happy to meet some new folks. Speaking of your friends, by the way, if you see Poppy, let her know that I might have a project for her.
Great. I'm glad she's taking projects. That's great to hear.
Great. Well, first one's on the house, but if you guys make yourselves known here, well, we do run on money, so.
Yeah, all right. You said the first one's on the house. Like,
Nope, you're fine. Please.
all right, what would this meal normally cost?
Well, if you're such good friends with Aesopp, you should ask him. And she walks away.
All right, Aesopp, how much does this meal cost me?
Surprisingly enough, not as expensive as we've seen in other cities, but reasonable price.
It's like a modest 8 silver, which is like not. It's a lot for people who don't make a lot of money. But you also imagine that it's very affordable given the quality.
The
Guys.
clouds or the dragons?
Sorry, what was that?
I was making a money joke.
Oh, right. The dragons are... Sorry. I have to pull my own notes to remember my denominations. I haven't memorized my lore. So, yes, bolts. Silver bolts. It was 8 bolts. There were no dragons. It's platinum clouds, gold crowns, silver bolts, or just copper. And I'll say, Aesopp, the read you get from her saying that the first meal is free and Clax insisting is that it would be rude to pay at this point. She has made a decision.
Yes. Which is why I will not allow anyone to trying to keep my reputation with her and her family on the up and up.
So, can't even leave a tip?
I would not.
In fact, you can say this if you want, but the tip would be to come back and
Hey again.
To come back and keep sort of, keep playing nice. But you all, of course, enjoy a quite filling meal. The table next to you, it seems to be the only other table coming in tonight, at least during the time that you're here. But you look out the window and start to see that the sun is coming down a little bit. But for those of you who are new to town, it is sort of and even those who've been to town before, it's still somewhat strange to see. But the citadel that you see outside the window, albeit a good 1.5 miles away, seems to be glowing light. Those of you in town know that's just what it is. It's always sort of daylight within the citadel.
What's the deal with this citadel place? This seems... I don't know. Extravagant?
Very.
Prominent?
I have never been there. As far as I'm aware, it is kind of a government seat. Kind of where government activities take place, at least the main important ones. And heavily guarded, as probably Clax you are well aware of.
Unifiers are there. That's where they're stationed out of. So.
Right, but why would you build something so pretty that people can't go to?
Because you can.
Sometimes people want the pretty things for themselves.
You ever try and break in college?
That would be a hefty jail sentence. We did some shenanigans in college, but that was that was one thing that A, we didn't have the resources for, as the walls to get inside the Citadel are huge, and B, we wanted to get our degree. So, considered, just never attempted.
So,
That's where the king is.
go ahead and I'm going to add a little bit of knowledge. Aesopp and Clax roll a history check.
Strata, did you say that's where the gang is?
I said king, not
Oh.
gang.
Probably. I'm sorry, what kind of check? History? Gang.
History, please, yes.
Really?
Ugh.
I
We rocked it.
Yeah. You know what's in your sheet, but I will offer one more piece of information. Another reason that Aesopp might not have broken in, besides it being well guarded, it's not just well guarded on the battlements. There seems to be a constant air patrol that it seems like this place is locked down in more ways than one, ground and air. The idea of getting inside is seems kind of like Fort Knox almost.
And this is just for the unifiers, or is this is the like castle where the king is?
The Sun King.
The Sun King.
Right? Did I say that right?
The Sun Throne.
Sun Throne, sorry.
But yes, the Sun Castle is where Ventus sits. Ventus the King, I should say. But Sky sort of like starts to stack your guys' plates and lift them off the table and quickly wipes down any morsels or crumbs that have been left behind from some of the bread that you used to soak up the chili juices. And she, holding the plates in one hand, just says, "Well, do come back. Always good seeing you, Aesopp. Nice to see everybody else as well."
Seeing you again.
She leans in for an uncharacteristic hug. It's been pretty new that she has you've only gotten one of these before, Aesopp. It seems to take a while,
Right.
but it's warm and friendly, and she pulls away and says, "Well, you can leave now."
Stubborn like your mom. All right. Have a good night, Sky, and tell your mother again. Thank you.
She nods, and as you guys sort of exit, you find yourselves back on the road. The nature of how this citadel is radiating light does sort of cast a light glow throughout the city that in many places allow you to sort of navigate without the need for a torch or anything like that. Although it is brighter the closer you are to the citadel. So, but the sun has started to set, and you still have a little bit of time before you would begin a long rest.
I'm gonna crack open that bottle of beer I brought with me. See
Strata,
how it tastes.
you ready to go to the post office?
Go.
You crack open the bottle. It's like a taste you weren't expecting. It seems to be a stout that just sort of like doesn't necessarily pair well with chili, but you know, it does the job. Seems pretty ordinary though. And you all
Night
head.
door of the university, or
Yeah. You want to? What do you want to do, Aesopp? Do you want to tour them around a little bit? You do expect that walking through the halls would be a little taboo, but you can at least go to the office in the park, I would say.
Yeah, I was expecting the halls to be locked at this point.
Yeah,
Maybe night classes, but
yeah, that there's like a administrative office or sort of like a concierge, for lack of a better word, that would help with mail and would be open later in case any students have mail to send.
mhm.
But yeah, you wouldn't go walking down the study halls or anything like that. But the park is open.
I would say I do linger on the library and like where the humanities buildings are, just as like more like memories kind of flash in my mind, and knowing that's where he works. And lead everyone to the admin office to drop off the mail. I am doing a walking backwards tour guide, university style, as we're walking though.
You walk past the park, which seems to be set up like a smaller version of Wolf Trap in DC. Like there's a sort of yard that's pointing towards a pop-up stage in the middle, so that people could have like little solo performances, or they could book it for a student event of some kind. Seems to be a pretty chill spot with trees and fountains and things of that nature. Plenty of seating, both in sort of like small set of bleachers as well as like a few benches that I expect that Aesopp and your friends have probably claimed one of these benches at one point, although you don't use it anymore. And plenty of green grass space that you've seen used for picnics of all kinds of varieties as well. You all see the emblem of the school is sort of emblazoned on several sort of like shield-like plaques throughout, and it seems to be sort of like two hands and one of those like little sticks that like a conductor would use, sort of in a pose that they are like two hands that are conducting an orchestra. And you all see the words Titlefall University sort of emblazoned under it. As you all step into the building, there is a sort of somewhat sleepy looking face that looks up from behind the desk. Somebody that you don't at all recognize. But they're not on guard per se, but they do seem to be monitoring the coming and going of people, and they say, "Can I help you?"
Hi, Drada.
Okay.
I have some mail that I would love to put in the post.
You a student?
Looks to Aesopp.
Yep.
Roll a deception check.
Didn't know this was going to require guidance.
Oh crap! I keeps. Oh, you know. Okay.
No problem at all, he says. All right. He extends a hand for it. And Jada, you give it to him as well as the instructions that Avendir gave you.
Yes.
He looks it over and he says, confirming the details. You see he puts the package down on sort of the edge of the table, looks at the little folded up note that was with it, and sort of starts writing something in a ledger next to him. And he says, just confirming the handwriting. This is going to Flamebridge City Hall, box 11, I think.
Yep. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. I got it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great
I
day.
love the mail and appreciate what you do. Thank you. Goodbye.
It's night.
You guys think we should have like opened that box to see what it was?
No.
I don't know. While we're on this tour,
Sure.
can I just be keeping an eye out for any like what look like broke college kid or like student worker or something like that?
You can. Give me a perception check. It is getting pretty late at night.
Hey,
That's a big
Aesopp.
one.
Well, that's
Nope.
unfortunate for everyone involved. Do you know where like the poli-sci building might be?
I'm sorry, the what building?
Like political science
Oh,
studies.
yeah, I had to take that for somewhere on my track to get my degree, but it's probably not open right now. Do you need to get inside for like a specific thing?
No, I just wanna see it.
Oh, okay. It's
Let's-
a little bit out of the way, but we can make a loop around the park to get over there.
I for my I do have some of Titlefall sort of mapped out, not battle maps or anything. I'm not suggesting that I'm that crazy, but it's more one gigantic building separated by floors, less so than like different buildings and different campuses. So it's unfortunately in this instance, it's one of the it to be the third floor of the building, but accessing it at this time is difficult.
Got it. So I'll relay that back. We can try during the daytime. If you wanted to kind of walk around the area, they're probably locking everything up at this point. They don't really want students walking around the more classroom building or areas at night. Of course, probably the library's open.
I'm sorry, Jacob, you cut out a bit.
That feels fair, but thanks.
Well, the mail has been posted. Is there anything else folks would like to do tonight, or are you all returning to the Tiern family home?
No, I just kind of keep an eye out to see if I can see Haskak and Alma at all.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Is it Hashak or Haskak? Sorry.
Yes, correct.
And Alma. Just see if I see them still keeping an eye on us at a distance or anything.
You can roll a perception check if you'd like.
Okay.
Nope.
Then if no one else wants a specific place to go, I would probably lead them back to my neighborhood / home.
Cool. As you're sort of approaching, it's, without knocking on every door of your neighbors, the validation sits in that you expect that many, if not all of them, are on assignment right now, because you don't see any interior lights coming from any of the buildings. So do with that information as you will, but as you unlock the door and return inside, you have the complete space to yourself.
Just because I feel a little sad at the fact that my neighborhood is very dark right now, because usually the homes are lit up with like a front porch light I would probably cast light on our little porch like area, or like little lantern area, and just have a front porch light on, just to make myself feel more at home, knowing that someone's there. So, took you guys to my favorite restaurant, and you saw the campus that I went to for several years, and my home. I feel like you guys are learning a lot about me today.
You guys have like a wine cellar?
You're really gonna be that guy? Oh wow, he's really gonna be that guy. Okay, okay.
I imagine
You tell me.
I imagine that we do, especially my mother
Yeah.
would have requested a wine cellar, and just because of her stubbornness and her personality, my father would have built one for her.
Yes. And it's not, some people have a wine cellar and they store decades old vintages to save for a rainy day or save for a celebration. But this is more of a practical construction. This is meant to store, everyday wine that you want to have on hand. And you see a good 10 or so bottles, whites and reds, and a rosé, just for the occasion that you may need a rosé. As well as a cabinet that are full of all sorts of glasses and whatever drinking equipment you need.
Well, I'll just grab a bottle. Not really sure which one anyone has any interest in, but I'll just grab one and go into our kitchen, grab a few cups. Definitely not like artistic in any way. Like nothing in the house screams like, oh yeah, they definitely got this, because it's like really pretty or has a lot of color or like artistic. Very much, if it's like utensils or like things that are going to be used a lot in a home, they're made and look like for utility purposes only. So very plain cups. I'll hand out to everyone.
No wine decanters.
No.
or anything that would aerate it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I feel like you've just been a little down lately, and it seems like maybe, good as night as any to have a few glasses of wine.
Yeah, I haven't drank in a while. But maybe I do need one. Lord. Well, cheers to a good day. And hopefully another good day tomorrow.
We think we're gonna go back to Horizon with Avendir, or were there things that we wanted to do here? This is the first stop on the auction tour, assuming it gets approved.
I mean, sort of sounds to me like that might just sort of depend on what we find out at the factory precinct. Seems like something's going on.
I don't know if there is much that I can do if I stay, though.
We got the whole day tomorrow. Let's see
Yeah.
what information we can gather. See if there's anything we can do, and if there is, we could reevaluate, meet up with Avendir and go from there. And if there's not, again, Avendir doesn't seem to be concerned, and maybe I'm just the only one who's out of sorts on it. But something just doesn't sit right with me on the whole thing. So let's see what we find out tomorrow, and we'll go from there. But that was good chilling. I'm pretty tired now, so.
Chilling. Yeah.
Beer could have been better, but.
Oh, well, specialize in beer or alcohol.
I noticed. Well, just
Yeah.
mentally. I'll just get the water next time.
If you notice, really, it wasn't pointed at all. What are you talking about?
I'll kind of figure out a layout where everyone can sleep. Someone can probably sleep on the couch that's out in the living room or somewhere on the floor, but I will definitely make it known that I will be retreating to my room.
I will take a watch, and probably the first watch, just to kind of keep an eye out, see if we've ruffled any feathers. And if I get a chance to talk to Flint, I will just kind of pull him aside.
Sure.
Probably before we get that late in the evening, when we're all just like getting back and settling in and winding down for the evening, I would maybe pull Mouse aside. Hey, I know Aesopp said he didn't want to like trouble Jory, but he seemed a little down lately, and we're in town. Should you like send him a message? Tell him we're at Aesopp's?
Interesting idea. I don't know that I could send him a message, but I'm sure I could find an animal to take a message for us.
Oh, I don't know how your messaging stuff works. Do you not know him well enough?
I don't know, but I do know that I have Animal Messenger prepped, and that'll work regardless of how familiar I am.
I will say, because I just want to make sure, are you as a player not sure of the rules, or is this sort of Mouse?
Clear how familiar I needed to be with people to set up.
You kind of have to have met them, and for them to have met you. So you would be familiar enough with Jory.
I like being helpful, but I don't want to do something that I think Aesopp would tell us if he wanted to meet up with Jory.
You think? I feel like he's been really like, I don't know, like just keeping to himself. I don't know, I feel like he'd feel better.
Maybe we can ask him tomorrow.
We might be leaving town though.
But we'll be back on the 7th.
Fair enough. Just thought it'd be a nice surprise for him.
I like the idea. Maybe we can find him some flowers or make a really good breakfast. I generally don't feel like I trust Aesopp to know what he wants. He knows I could contact Jory, and probably he can do it easier than I can.
Okay.
Do you have anybody to contact? Do you have friends?
I don't know anybody here.
I met one dude one night, but I'm sure he's doing well. I don't know that he'd remember me.
You met one dude here one night?
Yeah.
When were you in?
No, sorry. Hey, Mouse. Let's unpack that. You met a dude here one night. What does that mean?
Yeah, we were just in a place with food and beverages and chatted a lot, and he was not in a very good space at the time, and I listened and tried to help, and then went home.
My heart.
What?
Honestly, that sounds like the ideal way that scenario could have ended. Cool.
Who was this dude? Why was he upset?
Roger, he had just had a really bad day, and honestly, a lot of bad stuff had happened to him. A lot of bad stuff had happened to him. I hope he's doing better now, though. We don't he's not important. We don't need to meet up with him. He's the only other person I've ever met here, so
I mean, you could send him a message. It's not where I planned this to go.
oh, I'm just you have connections here. I wanted to make sure that there wasn't somebody that you wanted to see.
I mean, I kind of don't want to see Jory, but
I'll talk to Aesopp in the morning.
he's gonna say no, but he means yes.
I think that's how words work.
Okay. I got him drunk and everything. Wanders off back inside.
Mouse is really confused about what she was supposed to learn about Flint from this encounter.
And what's so confusing about meeting a dude and talking to him? I don't understand.
Yeah, no, that's not confusing at all. It's the
Well,
yeah. Inter-party shenanigans. I do not cast Animal Messenger.
Okay. Is anybody taking a watch? It sounds like Clax is taking first watch. Is anybody else opting to take a watch?
Do we feel like we need to? Aesopp?
Aesopp's in his room, unless you want to have rewound the conversation.
Yeah, I imagine this happens like before we say goodnight officially, but I mean, I would like to say I'm safe and comfortable in my own home. So I don't feel a need to take watch. Also I'm just a little bit tipsy, just a tiny bit, so I don't know how well I would be at doing that. My opinion is no.
I mean, I'm very much sober at the moment and don't mind if we need another person.
I mean, Flint was going to stay up with Clax during his watch just as an excuse to drink more wine before going to bed. It was not really... He wasn't thinking of it as a watch. Clax might be.
Just kind of keep an eye out. Like, I don't think it's not that I'm worried. It's just keep an eye out. And I'll probably sleep close to the living room door when my watch ends, or the front door.
Yeah. Okay. Well, unless somebody says anything, I'm assuming that it's just Clax and Flint, unless Drada wants to be part of this as well, or take a separate watch.
I can take a separate watch. That's fine.
So,
Drada's going to the poli-sci build.
well, I suppose it's sort of up to. I mean, if it's going to be a second watch, it's up to somebody to wake you up. But Drada indicates the desire to wake up. So
I'll wake him at the end.
Okay. But we'll start with first watch. If you both, I mean, Flint, I'm tempted to just not even let you roll perception check, but you're there. But Clax, if you want to roll perception.
Nope. Okay.
Almost a 20.
Super effective
Almost.
watch.
Yep. One drunk guy and the other guy who was staring at his shoes for some reason. So Flint, to your questions earlier, when we were at Mother Mary's, is it just me or were we getting grilled by Mary I think it was Mary when she came out with the food?
I mean, they seemed closed off. I briefly got the vibe that maybe this was some sort of, family restaurant. But I don't know, it seemed fine.
So to me, it was just very interesting that the names had to be given. I have no problem giving mine. It is what it is. Like I said, I'm sure as soon as we walked in the city, there are people who knew we were here. So it didn't bother me. But the fact that everybody in the group needed to give their name, or we're try not to sneeze. Sorry, guys.
Bless you.
As a
Yeah, I hadn't even.
gout of fire
hadn't even-
explodes out of Clax's nose.
I hadn't even clocked the fact that they very, very explicitly took all our names. Do you
Yeah,
think that's something we should be worried about?
I don't know about worried about, but the tabaxis in this city stay very close together. So just for all intents and purposes, assume any tabaxi we're going to encounter, including City Watch, know of us, know of our presence, and know what our group composition is, and have an idea. I'm sure. I have a gut feeling that Mother Mary. Well, I'm not saying she's doing anything illegal or illicit or anything like that, but the other two people who are at the bar or at the restaurant might be keeping an eye on us. So maybe I'm paranoid because the more and more I listen to myself talk, I really, really sound like a paranoid dragonborn idiot. But I just feel like it just didn't feel like a normal restaurant in any way, shape, or form.
Is there something we should do to get on like their good side, so like we have a good reputation with the Tabaxi? Is there anything that...
I don't think there's anything necessarily to do, other than, if something's going on and they're there, don't get in their way, or if they need help with something, we help it. Because I think it's also one of those things. If we do a favor or solid, it's not a guarantee, but like if we help them out, we'll be all right.
Should we bring them like a gift? What do Tabaxis like?
What? I don't know about that. I don't know if it goes that way.
I'm gonna pause you. You, even with your perception of 2, you hear a knock on the window.
I kind of just kind of indicate to Flint, kind of walk on over to the window, kind of get to one of those positions where you can kind of see out but not expose yourself too much, and kind of take a peer out.
With the light spell that Aesopp had cast, which is probably near the end of its lifespan, you see sort of like a lightly silhouetted figure of a half-orc man. Wearing familiar clothing.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, right. This will be fun. Flint says, drunk.
So, do you want to stay here or?
No, I'll come with.
Okay. I'll go to the front door and open it up.
You see, your demeanor in this semi-drunk state is a little bit more playful as the sort of serious face that greets you at the door of Lieutenant Longhole. And he sort of quizzically looks down at as you open the door, I imagine you're like halfway between a laugh, and you sort of turn and see his eyes. You were expecting them, but you weren't expecting the look on his face. It sort of just like shakes you to a moment of sobriety.
Immediately kind of pop to Lieutenant.
Friend of yours?
Yeah.
You look up at this half-orc with sort of like pointed ears. Seems to be wearing the guard outfit of the group of 2 people you saw before, but there is a sort of a pin that is holding the cloak in place, sort of like going over his shoulder, that has it's a golden tinted pin that has an eye emblazoned on it. And he says, he just sort of looks down at you, Flint, and then looks up at Clax and says, care for a walk?
Yeah.
Sure, it'd be good.
So Longo, he's okay. If you don't want him to come, that's fine. And we got some stuff to catch up on, but he's also, I trust him.
I would prefer that we talk.
Flint, you mind holding down the fort?
All right. Flynn immediately just goes to sleep on the couch.
I guess Draw's not getting woken up.
Longle just sort of walks down the streets with you, and what you imagine to be an aimless direction. This is just sort of like a night stroll, and says, "So you're back?"
Temporarily at the moment. I still owe you.
He continues walking silently.
Actually, the way I see it, I owe you twice. So what's going on in town right now?
He's, there's brief bits of silence as you're sort of taking the measure of him. Go ahead and give me an insight check.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're drunk enough to be at disadvantage or anything.
Yeah, about par for the course for me.
Okay. With an 8, it's sort of a low DC for him, given what you know, but he just sort of has an air of like business about him at the moment. And you get the sense that he's not answering your question intentionally.
Have I caused a problem for you by being back in town?
Nothing like that. She wants to see you again.
Just to be clear, let me get the name right. Wrong sheet.
I haven't figured out how to pronounce it yet, but it's Aeula.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's who he's referring to.
Thank you. When?
I could set it up for tomorrow night.
Potentially might be out of town tomorrow night. Is that too? Could we do midday? Or does she not like to meet during the day?
I say this respectfully. I'm not an errand boy. She wants to speak to you, and I'm delivering that message.
Understood.
If you want to pop by in the afternoon and see if you can find her, that's on you. But tomorrow night is what I would, if I were you, that's what I would recommend.
Where at?
Same place.
Okay. So what can I do for you? I still owe you some favors.
He sort of like narrows his eyes a little bit and says, I mean, do you have anything that would interest me?
I think the lady in red's still up to no good. But I mean, that's kind of a given. I don't think that you need me to tell you that.
I would prefer not to talk about her.
Fair enough.
You might not be causing problems by being here, but they're asking around about what happened and how it came to be and who told you where they were. I'd prefer, if you're going to chase after this, you stick with Aeula.
Yeah. No plans to cause any problems. Like I said, might be out of town by tomorrow. Might be in town for a little bit longer. It all depends on how tomorrow goes. But while I got you here, I know I'm no longer lieutenant, but what's going on with the Minotaurs in town? Seems like they've gotten scarce. Anything you can share.
Roll persuasion.
All right, got a couple bad rolls out. Here we go. Get something good. It's almost a 19. Jesus.
Yeah, your dice are just like 19, 3.
Yep. It's fine. Fine.
22. He looks at you though, not saying no. The response you get is, "What? You want to owe me 3 favors now?"
I just kind of shake my head. Well, here, what I'm going to offer you is while I'm in town, especially if I stay past tomorrow. If you need me for anything, give me a holler. I do owe you. I don't have anything that I think is worth sharing with you now that can help you out, but if I find anything, I'll make sure I reach out. And give you a shout out on Hashak and Olma. They're doing a good job. Kept an eye on us. Big group, travelers walking in, checking out places. Seems like you got a good squad right now.
You aren't the only one who knows how to keep their people in line. And for what I do respect the work you did.
Just executed really poorly.
Mistakes happen, but
How's the magistrate? Oh, sorry. Continue.
Nonetheless, you are welcome here, but your name is not spoken of highly right now.
Understood. Have you talked to Magistrate Donut at all?
Not explicitly about you. But he's recovering. Marigold has done well.
That's really good to hear. It's really good to hear. What section are they in right now?
He gives you sort of the look of like,
don't do it.
the look of like he perhaps wants to tell you, but nevertheless boundaries.
Understood.
I'm sure if you spend sufficient time in town, you know where to look. You know the routes.
Speaking of knowing where to look in a place I've never been, Mother Mary's? That's an interesting place.
Good people. So Stripes says.
Understood.
There's nothing to worry about there.
They're just not the most welcoming for non-tabaxi, I noticed.
Some would say that about you.
Well, mine's indiscriminate. I just don't like most people.
Nonetheless, it's not worth being suspicious of everybody.
I am turning into a crazy old man, and I'm not even that old.
He sort of stops at the gate that would lead back to Van Sennery, and sort of kind of the air is like he's going to go this way, you need to go back, but he says she was insistent. I would encourage you to make time tomorrow night.
Understood.
He nods
Longo.
and turns back around.
Thank you. I split off. Kind of take a different route back, kind of through.
He sort of like lingers. Not that your head is turned, but for narrative purposes, he lingers for a moment, keeping an eye on you before eventually turning in and leaving. By the time you get back, Flint is, of course, passed the F out. And I will also give you this option. You could wake Draught up, but you would know that tomorrow's going to be a tight day, and more watches means a later start to the day.
What I'll do is I'll take a look and judge the state that Drada is in. If he is out, knowing that with Longo visiting, we probably have eyes on us. Probably pretty safe. So, if he's out, I'm gonna let him sleep.
Would you say that Drada drank any of the wine?
No, Drada doesn't really drink.
Okay. I mean, Drada is asleep. That's just the nature of being on second watch, is you take a nap before it's your turn. So, but Drada's not snoring.
I'm gonna make a judgment call because I have a sneaking suspicion things are gonna try and keep us here in Consonance for a little bit. He'll have his nighttime to go check out the poli-sci building. I'm gonna let him sleep.
Okay.
Drada can hate me in the morning.
Well, we will end the game there because my alarm is like a minute from going off, saying that it's almost 10 p.m. And we will pick it back up in the morning as you
The
all...
drama.
I know. Everything is happening. People know people, and there's history.
Disappointed
Trying
we
to get
didn't.
me in trouble with the party.
That would have been awesome.